Hey, good morning, class. I hope you're having a great day. It's the beginning of a new week, and how many of you saw the rain this morning? Well, today we're going to be talking. This is going to be the last thing for the unit of geometry of shapes. We're just going to only spend today and then maybe review again later this week. Today we're going to look at surface area. Now, for this year, for seventh grade, you're only responsible for finding, according to the Aero standards, surface area of cubes and surface area of rectangular prisms. So we're going to look at some real life scenarios. Thanks to my son. Guess what this is? This is a cube. All the sides are the same length. If you have a dice, it might be good to pause the video and get a dice, or some kind of rectangular prism as well, because we're also going to be calculating surface area of rectangular prisms. See, on the side it's a rectangle. It's got length and width, but the length and width are different. And it also has height. This is a special rectangular prism. um, it, and instead of finding the volume, how much stuff is made in it, we're going to look at just the surface. If I was going to cover this with a paper, imagine covering it with a piece of paper and then unfolding that paper. What would be the area of that paper? Same thing with this. If I got a piece of paper and I folded it, and then I unfolded I folded it completely with a piece of paper and I cut it off. Then I unfolded that piece of paper. What would be the area of that paper? So we're just looking at the surface area, the area that's on the surface. Now, let's go ahead and start with your notes. Please take notes today. Very important to take notes. Okay, so that's what a surface area is. We kind of talked about that. So let's talk about the surface area of a rectangle. Let's remind ourselves, because surface area is all of the areas that are on the outside of a surface, all of the areas. Let's remind ourselves, what is the area of a rectangle? Well, a rectangle is length times width. See, if I was to turn it this way, the length times the width. And we can calculate that. If this length was 6 and the width was 4, then the area would be 6 times 4, which is 24. And that would be centimeters cubed. Squared, centimeters squared. Mr. John, pay attention. Okay, if it's a square, it's the same thing. We have length and we have width, but guess what? If it is a square, the length and the width are the same length. So instead of calling it L and W, we just call it S for side. So all you have to do for, if it's a square, just measure one side, because you know the other sides are going to be the same length. That's what a square is. All sides are the same. So instead of saying S times S, we can just say, like you can see here, S squared, because that's what S times S means. So to find the area of one of these rectangles, I would do length times width. To find the area of one of these squares, I would do the side squared. Okay, now let's look at the surface area of rectangular prism. I'm going to not just find one, but I want to find all of them. How many areas are there? Well, let's count. We got one on the top. We got one on the back, so that's 2. We got one on this side, on the right side, or that'd be left side for you guys. And we have one on the right side. We have one at the top and one at the bottom. So that's 6 sides. But guess what? All 6 sides have a pair, have a matching side. So this front side, that area is the exact same shape and size as the back. So if I find the area of this, I can multiply it by 2 because there's 2 of them. And then if I find the area of this side, of the left side, I can multiply that by 2 because that's going to be the same as the area on this side. And if I find the area of this side down here, I can multiply that by 2 because it's the same as the top here. So I just multiply everything by 2 because every side has a matching side. So the first thing we got to do is we got to find out what is the length, what is the width, but also what is the height. So we have that third dimension. So identifying that in a problem is the key. So finding what is the length, and we represent that with L. What is the width? We represent that with W. And what is the height? We represent that with H. Okay, once we have that, we can put it in our equation. Whoops, typo. So like I said, if you multiply length times width, and length times height, and length times and height times width, there's another typo, sorry. Then we found three of the sides. Length times width would be this side. And if I add that to this surface area, and I add that to the surface area up here, I add up these three areas, I can multiply it by 2 because the other three sides are the same as these. Okay, here's the key to finding surface area of rectangles. Make sure you multiply and then add before you multiply the sum by 2. So really, we could put this at the end. We could put times 2 there at the end. That should be the last thing that you do instead of at the beginning. And you notice I have parentheses around these sums. Okay, we'll do an example here in a minute. Okay. So let's look at finding the surface area of a cube. Here, let me just do this really quickly. Okay, let me delete this. Oops. Thanks for your patience. Okay, so that would be times 2. All right, and we're multiplying by 2. All right, so finding the surface area of a cube. Again, because all lengths are the same, the width and the height and the length are all the same. So if you just find one of the lengths, if you find one side, how long that is, then to find that area, you multiply it by itself. So that side squared. How many sides are there that we're adding together? Well, we'd have to add this side plus this side plus this side plus that side plus that side plus that side. How many sides is that? That's 6 sides. So the easier thing to do is square the sides and then multiply by 6. And that'll give you your answer. So let's actually practice this. Okay, so if you look at your worksheet, see this first one? The key to this is identifying, a big key to this is identifying what are the length, the width, and the height. So here we can see that we have 2 inches, that's the height, 4 inches, that's the width, and 12 inches is the length. So we can ignore these other 2 measurements. We just focus on those 3. I don't know where my my marker went. I don't know where this thing went. Oh well. So what we're going to do is we're going to calculate it. So we're calling this the W, this is the H, and this is the L. So we're multiplying 2 times 4 plus 2 times 12 plus 4 times 12. You notice I'm putting all of this in parentheses. Now at this point, if I was to multiply by 2, that would be wrong. Because if I do that, I'm just multiplying the 12 times the 2, not the whole sum. So don't do that. Instead, find the sum of all of this together first. And you see I do that by putting them in parentheses. Then multiply by 2. That'll give you your answer. Or it's just as good, if you wanted to do this. So I did length times width, width times height, and length times height. And then hit enter first, and then multiply that by 2. Just double it. Either way will work. I like to use parentheses because I like to do it all in one step. So that's going to be the measurement, inches squared. Let's look at this one now. Two of the sides are the same, but the third length is different. So this is still not a cube. So to calculate this one, this is going to be our L. This is going to be our height. And then this, or down here, is our width. Okay? So for this one, we would do 8 times 8. Here, let's put it all in parentheses. 8 times 8 plus 8 times 5. That's the length times the width, right? Length times height, length times width, and then height times width. So plus height times width. And then all that is going to be multiplied by 2. And there you go, 288. That's the answer to that one. So it's 288 meters squared. Let's look at this one. Look, number 5, all 3 dimensions, height, length, and width, they're all the same. So this is going to be a little bit easier. What do? We take the side and we square it, which I know it's 121. But in case you forgot, you can just do this, square it, okay? And we're going to multiply that by 6, because that's just the area of one side. So we multiply it by 6. And then that'll give you your answer, 726 miles squared. That's it. Go ahead and finish the rest of this worksheet. You can just do 1 through 10. Don't worry about 11 and 12. You probably have enough practice by that point. Do 1 through 10, and have a great day. Bye.